Hi, this is the second part of the fuel flow indicator. So I did the complete reverse engineering of this analog board here. So this is the preliminary schematics. As you can see, this was very difficult. I had to use two different pages in order to have the complete board here. I had to test the continuity between each pins of all parts and the other ones. But at the end I succeed to do this job. So the complete schematics is here. So on this page there is a servo control loop of this board. So the servo control loop is located here on this area. So this is not complicated. You have the feedback potentiometer on the left here, and the measurement signal is here. The error amplifier is made with this amplifier here, with the 4.7 megohm feedback here. The gain of this amplifier can be reduced by closing this analog switch, and the motor is connected here. So the power supply of the motor is fed between the terminal 35 and 43, which is one of this long header here. And there is also a window comparator here. The output is at low level when the voltage across the motor is too low or too high. So this, I think, permits to know if the servo control loop works or not. On the measurement side, there is a filter here, which is made by this 10K resistor and this capacitor. The capacitor, I didn't note the value, but it is this one here. It is 22 microfarad. I will add the value. And you can see that you have also an analog switch here. So when this switch is closed, you have a negative gain of 1.3 here, of minus 1.3. But when the switch is open in this position, actually the gain is not defined because the input here is left open, and I have checked carefully several times. It seems that this terminal is not connected. So I think that this switch is always closed. So you have also an amplifier with a gain of minus 1, which permits to have a positive voltage at this output, and this goes to the rear connector. So the measurement is accessible in analog format also on the rear connector of the instrument, which is the terminal S. The power supply of the feedback potentiometer is provided by a reference voltage, which is 5 volt. This arrangement of these two resistors here permits to have the sum of the feedback voltage and the measurement, which is negative. And when the system is operational, there is 0 volt at this point here. And there is also on this page this small switch here. So this switch, I didn't see it first, is activated using this screw here. And there is a pull-up here, and this goes to the processor board. So I don't know the purpose of this switch. So this is a servo loop control. So a positive voltage here will permit to set the position of the needle from 0 to the maximum. And the rest of the circuit is on this second page. So there are different things on this page. So first is the measurement itself. So the measurement is done by this circuit. So we can see that we have two identical input circuits with input B here and input G here. This input shares the same ground, which is the terminal H here. It's connected to the ground here. So each channel uses an amplifier with a gain of about 10, which is the ratio between this 240K and this 24K here. So there is an adjustment of the gain for each channel. So there is a compensation of the bias current using these resistors here, 240K and 24K here, with the same diode. It permits to have a compensation of the bias current of the op-amp here, and also the reverse current of these Zener diodes here. So it is also the case for the other channel. And then we have a comparator, which is made by U2. So the reference is not visible, so I don't know the reference of this part, but it should be a comparator. You have a positive feedback here. So the voltage at this point is limited from 0 to 5 volts. It is also the case for the second channel. So at the output, you have two square signals, and you have a phase shift, which depends on the phase shift also of the input. So at the input, you should have two sine signals at 400 Hz with a phase shift, which corresponds to the fuel flow. And this circuit permits to generate here a burst which depends on the duration between these two edges. So this thing is not complicated. So let's start with the first rising edge on this line. So the rising edge on this line will introduce a high level on the Q output and the low level at the inverted output here. And this permits to release the reset of this flip-flop. So the reset line is at low level, so this permits to have at this output a square wave with half frequency than the clock input here. So at this moment, when the first rising edge occurs here, you will have a start of a burst signal at this output, and when the second edge arrives on this second channel, so this will set the output of this D flip-flop to high level, and this will permit to have a reset of this first flip-flop. And the reset line will permit to set the inverted output here to a high level, and this will reset this flip-flop and the burst stops. So at this output, at the terminal number 24 here, you will have a burst, and the duration of this burst depends on the phase shift between these two signals. So actually, this is the measurement of the phase between these two inputs here. And this output is fed to a counter, and the processor will read the value of the counter of this burst. And there is also a counter on this board, which is this part here, 4521. This counter is not used for the measurement itself because it is just counting from the clock, and the output is available also in one of on these terminals here. So I don't know what is the purpose of this counter, but this counter was placed on this board because I think that there is no place in the other boards. So this is the main circuit of the board. It is for the measurement of the phase shift between these two inputs. So this is the translation between a phase shift into a burst signal at this terminal here. So we have also this circuit which permits to generate the measurement voltage. The measurement voltage is the measurement voltage which was on the first page on the servo loop control here. So this is this voltage, which is a positive voltage from 0 to something in order to set the position of the needle. So this voltage is generated using a DAC actually, which is this part here, AD11-755. I didn't find any information on internet, but it is obvious that this is 8-bit DAC with a current output. When you have this kind of op-amp at the output of a DAC, it is to convert an input current here into a voltage. So there is a resistor inside the DAC here, which permits to convert the current into a voltage. So this is a virtual ground. So the voltage here is close to the ground because of this op-amp, and you will have at this terminal a positive voltage because the reference voltage is negative of this DAC here. And this voltage is filtered using this 100K and this capacitor. I don't know the value of this capacitor. I think it is the second one, so it is this one here. I cannot see the value. Yes, I can see. I need a magnifier. So this value is 2.2 microfarad. So this is 2.2 microfarad. Okay, so this is a large time constant, and this is buffered by this voltage follower, and this sent to the servo control system. So the position of the needle is obviously defined by the firmware. The voltage reference is generated by this part, which is an AD584. So the voltage reference is buffered by this voltage follower, and the 5-volt reference is a voltage which is used to supply the feedback potentiometer. So this is this voltage actually here. and this 5 volt is inverted using this amplifier with a gain of -1, and which provides the -5 reference. So we can see something interesting on these schematics is the use of this low drift voltage reference, because actually if we take a look one more time on this servo control loop, we can see that if there is an increase of the voltage reference, so there will be an increase of the voltage, of the feedback voltage, but at the same time you will have an increase of the measurement voltage here, because this measurement voltage which comes from this DAC is proportional to the voltage reference. So if you have an increase, for example, of 5% of the voltage reference, you will have a 5% increase of this voltage here, but you will have also a 5% increase of the measurement voltage, which is this voltage. Okay, so you will have also a 5% increase on this voltage as the output of this amplifier. And at the end, the voltage, which is proportional to the difference here, will remain the same. So actually, this system is not sensitive to the voltage reference because it is ratiometric. So what I wanted to say is that it is not necessary to have a very stable voltage reference for this system. So the rest of the circuit is this input here. So we have available on the rear connector between these two terminals. It is possible to activate this optocoupler. So this optocoupler permits to activate one line on the processor. I don't know the use of this thing, but it is maybe a validating signal. So maybe this indicator cannot work if this optocoupler is not activated. And there is also another signal, which is the pin 15 of the connector. But this signal goes directly to one terminal of the CDP 1802. So I don't know the purpose of this. So obviously, as there is no protection, so this should not be connected to a host computer or something. It should be connected directly to the ground or not on the rear connector. So it is maybe something to perform a test or something like that. I don't know, but if this instrument works, it is something we can see. And there is also another optocoupler. This optocoupler is located on the power supply board. So this is this optocoupler here. This optocoupler uses a small tap on the primary side of this transformer here, in order to have a small power supply, maybe 10 volt RMS or something like that, in order to activate this optocoupler. So in order to activate, you should perform a short circuit between this line and this line. So it is also maybe something in order to activate the system. And to finish, there is something very interesting. On the rear connector, there are two other signals on connector L and K here. And as you can see, this is the digital output, but the differential can be positive, negative, or zero, depending on the state of these two optocouplers. So these signals are defined by this by the second part here, the bigger one, the MCT72016D. I didn't find any information on this on internet. Very specific part. So, and probably this is an ARINC bus, maybe to send the information to a host computer. So I don't know the standard. It is maybe one of the first standard of the ARINC bus. So it is something we can check also. It can be interesting, and maybe to decode using maybe an interface or something to see the information. So that's all for the study. I think everything is on these pages. So I will try to test this instrument. So this will be the second part. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.